well, I think we can officially kick things off. I'm Chantal, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm the Director of Marketing at Demandwell, and my role today is largely facilitative. I'll make sure your questions get answered, but Mitch is really the star of the show. Mitch is the CEO and co-founder of Demandwell, among other things, like a toy hauler enthusiast. Mitch, just a couple housekeeping items for the moment. One is that we have Q&A that is live. Please ask your questions as they come up in the Q&A, and I'll be monitoring those and making sure that we get to them. And then we are recording this, and we'll send out the recording after the fact to everyone who has joined and registered. So just bear that in mind. If you need to hop early, that's totally fine. And Mitch, I will kick it off. I'll send things your way.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you all for joining. Excited to see all these names, lots of familiar ones, lots of new ones as well. So thank you all for joining. Excited to share some new ideas, hopefully, as well as some new product features that are coming out soon as well. So really excited to chat today. Like I said, I think I noticed some names that I definitely recognize. But welcome to all. For those who don't really know me, I have been prior to Demandwell, kind of the first 10 years of my career, was an SEO practitioner in all sorts of companies and agencies. Helped out folks like FedEx and some major retailers and SaaS companies, over that time. One of those SaaS companies is where I had left most recently, was called Lessonly. Lessonly actually no longer exists. They just got acquired by Seismic. But for those of you who know them, I was the third employee there, first marketing hire, kind of built all that out until Kyle Lacey came in to take over that, and was there for about 5 years. And SEO was just a massive part about our strategy, and ended up becoming the #1 individual channel that drove the most revenue for Lessonly. And so I got to learn. I've been able to learn on a lot of companies, but that one in particular, you'll probably hear me say a lot as an example, because it's my most recent one. But during all of that, and especially at Lessonly, I felt a lot of pain in running SEO. And I assume some of y'all feel this, some of these same pains as well. But, I just felt like I was just constantly recreating the wheel. And I felt like mostly always having to piece together just completely disparate parts to make a cohesive whole. And that has always been really difficult and frustrating. So to kind of make that a little more tangible, because that probably sounds very vague, there's just all sorts of silos within the world of SEO. You've got all sorts of different groups of people that are involved, right? Like you've got technical SEO folks, you've got content marketers, you've got PR folks. Our stance on kind of overall search is that you should definitely include review sites as part of your search strategy. If they're ranking really well, like a G2 or a Capterra, if they're ranking really well in Google, while you're building your site up, you should be going there as well. But typically, like customer service or customer success teams are owning review sites. So there's all sorts of disparate groups of people. There's also disparate groups of data. So whenever I'm creating an SEO strategy prior to Demandwell, I would just go through the rigmarole that we all go through, which is go to Google Search Console for certain things, go to Google Analytics for certain things, which is now about to expire because GA4 is coming in, which now you have to go to for certain things. Would go to the Google Ads keyword planner to understand where we could go, not just where we've been. There's data dump tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs and Moz and all of those. And so you go through this, the swimming pool of CSVs that you have to VLOOKUP all together. And Oh, by the way, if you ever want them updated, you now have to go do all of that again. So it's a lot of just disparate parts, to all put into one place. And so that's, a lot of what we've tried to do and what we believe we are doing at Demandwell is incorporating all of those things into one place. And so we've coined a term. I don't know if it'll be the category we create or whatever. We're not necessarily putting pressure on it like that, but we do think it's a good term to describe this kind of phenomenon, which is full stack SEO. So it's just the idea of embracing the idea that there are a lot of silos, from data to people involved. So another silo we didn't talk about, which is like humans versus robots. Like those are, no one talks about how they should work together. They talk about how they're, two different things, right? So full stack SEO, we think can bring, can break down these silos and help create efficiency and effectiveness by having all of these things in one place. And so again, to, kind of boil this down even further and make it a little more tangible, full stack SEO, we believe, has 4 core pillars. And you can kind of see them here on the screen. One is reporting or performance reporting. Another is health. There's strategy, and there's execution. We're going to go through each of these at least at a high level today, and show you within our platform what certain things look like here. But then we're going to end with reporting, because that's the big new feature that is coming soon, and want to dive into that one in some good detail. So let's kick things off with, we're going to say performance for last. I was going to say performance, but let's kick things off with health. So this is what our SEO health reporting looks like, all in our platform. For those who have not seen this before, we have this 3-part structure that we've created. It's called infrastructure, content, and endorsements. Infrastructure are technical things like you can see here, are the URLs that you want to be included in your XML sitemap actually included. You can click into this and see, are they, aren't they, get recommendations from a consultant that you're associated with in your account, all of that stuff. Content is pretty self-explanatory, content related things, but mostly around using text based, not in infrastructure is more like code based things. And then lastly is endorsements. So these are in the past people call these backlinks, links, whatever you want to call them. We like endorsements because it's a bit more descriptive of what's going on. Someone is endorsing someone else using a link. It's not about the link itself. And so that's the kind of 3-part framework that we use to talk about SEO health. This is how it looks today. We have some really exciting new features coming out in the next handful of months, where today we really rely on a consultant on the back end of this to be involved. So today we like to say, again, there's, most people talk about like robots versus humans. We love when robots and humans work together. And so that's how this comes together today, where we call it robot identified, human verified, where robots are doing all the hard work, but consultants on our team are double checking and making sure that, hey, we are putting that human element into it, because every business is different and priorities shift based on that. So that's how it happens today. We are soon going to be launching a new auditing suite that allows you to essentially have a DIY version of this, where you can actually inform our platform directly about what you care about. You can set up different monitors similar to each of these. You can select what is good, what is bad. You can select how often you want it to be monitored. Some choices include every 12 hours, daily, weekly, or monthly. So we're really excited about those coming soon. So stay tuned for upcoming webinars based on that. But that is when we talk about health, that is what that looks like today. Um,
Quick question,
uh,
Mitch.
yeah, go ahead.
How much does it cost to have like an SEO agency run one of these things?
That's a great question. We hear numbers quite often, and they're all for sure 5 figures or higher.
Yeah.
So usually 10 grand at an absolute minimum.
Yeah. We also had a hand raised, Victoria. I'm not sure if you still have a question. We can totally kind of like jump back to it. It doesn't have to be about SEO health. If you still have the question, I'm going to allow you to talk. We're going to see what happens.
Hi. Yes.
Hello.
I actually was just messaging Jordan because the chat function isn't working. And I don't know if other people have questions, but for some reason, you're not able to text in the chat.
Yeah. So the Q&A seems to be working. So people can put questions in the Q&A. I'm seeing some questions come through. Is anyone else having that problem? Feel free to throw it into the Q&A.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Cool. Find that out. Awesome. All right, carry on, Mitch.
Awesome. All right. And Sid, that is awesome that you're at Docebo. Glad to see you here. All righty. So that is about health, and in kind of in total there, what we're really talking about is reactive and also preventative kind of leading indicators of how can we get more performance out of our SEO program. So next up is strategy. So strategy is kind of a, I don't know, overarching concept. There's a lot of ways that we could look at this in the platform. Today we're just going to look at what's called our keyword coach. This is essentially the consultant curated list of keywords that are live in our customers' accounts. Again, this is very robot identified, human verified, all of that whole process. But the point of this all comes down to, and when we talk about strategy in SEO, it all comes down to priority. We think one of the tough parts about SEO is that there are hundreds of factors in the algorithm. There are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, depending on your industry, of keywords that are being searched all the time. And in addition, you can have anywhere between call it 300 and 3 million pages on your site, right? There's so many different things to consider, and when you multiply all those together, it's darn near impossible to think about all of that. So the point is, there are a lot of things that you could touch. There's a lot of things that you could impact, but we find there's typically a lot fewer that you should be spending your time and focus on. And so when it comes to strategy, we really believe in this idea of understanding the specifics of a business, and then informing our robots, informing our platform on what is most important, and creating a sense of priority as much as we can. And so that shines through really well in our keyword coach, where we actually have a customized priority score. So we work with a lot of companies, and so we have kind of a default way that we come up with priority in case we don't get too much direction. But our ideal is that we do get direction from our customers, and we can influence that priority score and customize it to that customer.
We have a quick question in the chat that's related to like what goes into this. So the question is, are there any configurations in the keyword coach to look at competition level of the keyword, high, medium, low, like what you see in Google Keyword Planner?
Yeah, great question. I would say the name, but it looks like that's anonymous. Yeah, great question. We do not have a competitive score, or frankly pay too much attention to competition in the platform today. That is something coming soon, where with new keyword research functionality that is going to launch in the next handful of months, you can actually import and include pretty much any kind of data that you want, including that kind. So if you are wanting to, pull that from whatever source you trust on that most, you could actually import that into the platform in the near-ish future. We typically coach around basically a combination of these different data points that we do include, like average rank and also search volume. Typically, higher search volume is going to be more competitive, lower search volume less so. We also, if you're already ranking number 3 for a keyword, it doesn't really matter that it's super competitive. There's, there are still things you can do to actually have a ton of improvement because of the progress you've already made. So that's typically how we coach around it. But again, if you wanted that high, medium, low, you could actually include that in the future.
And today it sounds like volume is part of the priority score. Is that correct?
Yeah. So volume, and that is search volume. So that is monthly search volume. So how many times per month people are searching for something. We do have also part of the priority score is the types of words that are included in the keyword itself, and that kind of trumps volume in certain regards. So that's why, on this example, you can see that top one is higher priority, but it actually, there are others that have higher volume.
Totally. And just to give an example, to put some clarity to that, it's like anything that indicates high intent, like does it say software? Are they in a buying mode when they're searching that term? That's going to increase the intent score.
Exactly.
More questions too. These are perfectly timed. From Jackie. Hi, nice to meet you. She's new to Demandwell. Amazing. Will we be able to download the target keywords at some point?
Yes.
Cool.
And great to meet you,
soon, Jackie. Okay, and another question from Sam. What are the ideal target keyword metrics? Which metrics do you prioritize over the others?
Yeah, great question, Sam. I think you're the Sam Christie that I know. So good to see you and hear from you. If so, it's kind of like what we've been talking about here is how I would think about it is this idea of having a priority score, which you can create on your own, but it incorporates a few key things. One is what's actually going on inside the keyword, like what's the intent of that. Like Chantal said, if we can clearly see that someone's in buying mode, because we are so focused on helping drive as low in the funnel as we can, we don't like to help people just get more traffic. We want to help them get more business. And so what's included in the keyword, very important. The second part is how much progress have you already made on that keyword. So are you on page 2 and you have just a bit more to go, or are you not even on the map at all? And then lastly is, what is the opportunity if you did actually rank for something? How much would it be worth it? And that's where volume comes into play. So there's not a single metric that I think is valid for prioritization. I think you have to have a combination of all of those. But the good news is today, like I mentioned, this is robot identified, human verified. In the future, when those new keyword research tools come out, prioritization scoring of that is going to be something that you will absolutely be able to influence directly, rather than having a consultant do that in the platform behind the scenes.
Totally.
So really excited about that. So if you disagree with our priorities, that's okay, and you can change it.
Yeah, and in both circumstances, it's like there's some art, there's some science. Like the science might not tell you that the new feature that you're launching, those terms should be your number one priority, but for your business, it is your number one priority. And so in that case, that's the most important thing.
Yes.
We have one more question from Anonymous, which is, what does stage mean?
Yeah, great question. Stage here is just a shortened version of life cycle. Stage up here This is a kind of filter functionality for us. But we categorize every keyword based on its performance into 5 stages. Stage 1 means that you're not ranking for it at all. Stage 5 means that you're ranking in the top 3 and have a good click-through rate as well. And then stages 2 through 4 are kind of faded in between there. But that's what stage means.
Oh yeah, Sam Christie knows the golf analogy.
Yes.
Just for those who don't know, like, the chances of hitting a hole in one as a non-golfer, that's like the only term I know, are very low. And oftentimes you need to like take a multi-step approach with different tools along the way to help you get the ball in the hole. That's how we think about getting onto the first spot for keywords as well.
Yes. I am also not good at mini sports at all, but golf wise, it's like the number is the lie. So it's like your current state. And then, based on that, we can help you, figure out which club to use and which, what your strategy is to get to that next stage.
Awesome. All right, we're good with questions. So I think we can move on to the next section.
Okay.
And don't worry, folks, reporting is just around the river bend.
Yes, it is. Okay, so this is, with regard to strategy, again, it's all about, to us, it's all about prioritization because there's so much you could do, but we want to help you focus on what you should do. Today, we have a pretty heavy influence on that. We, understand your business and translate that into the platform. Pretty soon, we're going to open that up to our customers to be able to influence it directly. So really exciting there. Okay, so that was strategy. Next up is execution. Again, kind of a broad term. I'll be honest, we're kind of wordsmithing some of these things as we move along. So if you have feedback, we'd love to hear it. But execution-wise is really, rubber meets the road, whatever you want to call it. This is where, things really start to happen and are absolutely critical. And we believe that really efficiency and effectiveness should be the primary words when we're thinking about execution with SEO. And efficiency does not mean doing more at the expense of doing a good job, which I think sometimes in SEO, we often see people like cutting corners and things like that. That's not at all what we mean. We do not at all mean do things in a way that get more done, but it's not as good. We believe my co-founder Sam says it really well that creating efficiency is not about just doing more hard work. It's about making that work easier to do, but still doing it in a great way. And so that's what we think about when it comes to efficiency. And it really comes down to humans and robots working together. Again, there are so many things that only humans can do in the process of SEO, but there are so many things that a robot or a platform can do behind the scenes. And so we like to, I think that's coming through here, right? That that's how we think about a lot of things. But with regard especially to content production, I'd like to share from an execution standpoint, we help facilitate that for our customers in a number of ways, but I want to walk you through our content production workflow, what that looks like today, and then we will talk about reporting. So today, this is our content plan. This is where you can go in and create, kind of call your shots of what content you're going to be creating in the near term. You can track the status of these. You can give them each a due date. You can actually give each of them an assignee, and you can actually give various folks access to the platform. And if they're assigned to something, you can adjust permission settings to help them either see everything or just what they should be focused on. So that's really neat, especially with using other folks on your team to actually create content. Whether, if you I know at Lessonly in particular, as an example, we would have the sales team actually create content for our blog. And so, in that situation, you could assign an AE on your sales team to create a piece of content about something that matters from an SEO perspective, but also you want their perspective on as well. Assign that to them. They don't have to get bogged down by understanding anything else in the platform other than, hey, here's the content you should create. So I really love that feature. You can also see, what kind of content it is, and then take actions over here as well. So this is kind of how you put your plan together. Once you decide to create a piece of content, our platform will do a number of things, and it depends on what you want it to do. We can do, essentially, we can go from just a keyword to a complete outline content brief that is ready for a writer to take a look at and start creating content on. We can do that fully automatically, or you can take as many steps in there to do and even edit what our platform does. So first step here is creating an outline of the page and making sure that you're incorporating keywords and suggested keywords into the brief. Next up is writing instructions. So this helps you tell and communicate with your writer about what that instruction, what your purpose for the piece is, as well as individual instructions if you think they are needed. And then lastly, you can review this here. You can order this actually from us if you want us to write it for you. You can also assign a user, notify them directly in the platform, or just simply copy it and share it out however you do that normally. So we go from having a plan that we're going to create content to setting us up for really great success to communicate with whoever is going to be actually writing the content. That person creates the content, and then once they're done, we can pull that content back into here and analyze and understand, hey, here, did they use all the keywords that they were supposed to use? In this case, yes. Also, word count, we allow you to select how much, total word count you want and word count per section. And so we evaluate, hey, did they actually hit that criteria as well? This box over here is fully editable. Grammarly works inside of it. It's really nice. And you can edit it, in real time, and things will change over here too. So we go from having a plan to creating a piece of communication to hopefully come up with a good outcome. Someone creates that content, plug it back into here and understand, hey, this actually was a good outcome. And now we're confident that when we take this and plug it into our CMS and hit publish, that we have a really high chance of having this rank really well and actually be read.
How does this compare to Yoast in terms of the way it evaluates content?
Yeah, so Yoast and Demandwell are extremely different, and for this in particular, again, kind of that robot and human collaboration is really where I think a big difference is, where creating an outline like this that is so fully influenced by someone that's at the company and actually understands the ins and outs of the business that just takes it to the next level, and then being able to have that view as the person who is really running SEO here, have this as a checkpoint for when we plug an article into this, to be able to say, hey, I'm comparing this not to just what anyone thinks about it. This is what I think about it. And it's a simple scorecard. Did you include the keywords? Did you include all the words that you need to? And those the reason why those are the things is, one, we like to keep things simple, but also those are commonly the two most important things to set yourself up well for success.
Awesome. And then can you click on one of the keywords so we can see what happens? We have another question about that. Does the analyzer show you where they are? Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then one more, what's powering the content recommendation template? IBM Watson, Google's natural language processing, or both, or neither, I think.
Yeah, neither is the correct answer. This is all proprietary to Demandwell.
Awesome. We're good for questions for now, so carry on.
Okay, awesome. So from an execution standpoint, again, going from our content plan, having a plan, to communicating with writers, to actually understanding did they do a good job. That is our content production flow. We've got some exciting new changes coming there soon as well, but we'll leave it there for now. So, okay.
Last question.
Yeah.
Coming from me. On
Yes.
a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you wish you had this when you were at Lessonly?
Oh my gosh, solid 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is, again, it's when you're managing this stuff without Demandwell, it is just disparate parts kind of everywhere. You've got a content plan or a content calendar that's in a spreadsheet or in some sort of separate Kanban solution, right? You've got all sorts of things all over the place. This really does consolidate everything down into one. And I do genuinely, I think it's a feature that doesn't get a whole lot of spotlight, but I do genuinely think the assignee functionality is just absolutely so critical, because I find when you're using or when you're asking others on your team who are not content creators typically in their career, in order to get them to be successful in that, you have to strip it all down and make it as simple as possible. And by allowing our users to assign something to, let's say, an AE, again, to our example, and all that AE sees when they log into Demandwell is, here's the thing that you should create content around. That is just so powerful, because they're going to be, they have all sorts of questions. They're going to be confused. Should I do this? Should I do that? It's like, no, all you have to know about is, all you got to do is create content. But it's seamlessly integrated into the same place that the person who is creating the overall strategy for SEO can be operating and understanding how that's going. So it's really, it really helps each of the different people involved be involved in the right way.
And I imagine a lot of people on the call, like, even if it's not an AE writing the content, like if it's a junior content writer on your team, like, can make it a lot easier for them. And then if you're actually managing the creation of the outlines, like disparate parts, but also I don't think you mentioned, like, removes a ridiculous amount of manual work.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think I mentioned that on the outliner. Our platform will go out and do that keyword research to understand what keywords should be included there. Yeah. Okay, awesome.
Moment we've all been waiting for.
No more questions. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about reporting. So we are going to take a look at, this is not live software that we're going to walk through right now. This is in a tool called Figma, just as a prototype. We are going to have this as live software in very soon. Don't have a specific for you today, but we're talking weeks, definitely not months. And we are really, really excited about it. We are in beta right now, and we've got some known bugs that we're actively squashing, and then it will be live. And we are so excited for this new reality. One, definitely primarily for our customers to use, but also even just internally at Demandwell for our own SEO. We are so excited to be launching this. So this is our new reporting suite, really focused around performance reporting. So, asking questions of what impact are we seeing from SEO? I'm going to walk you through the kind of just a general functionality flow here, describe a couple kind of key areas of the screen. Then I'm going to share a handful of examples of the types of reports that I'm personally looking forward to as well as, some ideas that I think y'all might find interesting as use cases going forward. So first things first, we have this section over here, which is called the need to lead funnel. This is actually already live in the platform, and it simply shows from how much content you're publishing to how many keywords that you rank for. From those keywords, how many impressions you're getting from them, how many visitors you're getting from those impressions, and then finally, how many conversions you're getting from organic search from those visitors. I'll share that ranking keywords and impressions, the source for that is Google Search Console. Visitors and conversions, the source for that is Google Analytics. Published content, the source for that is Demandwell. And so those three data sources in particular are really the primary ones that are all being synced up together here in this reporting suite. So that's the need to lead funnel. Again, that exists today. So a couple new things. So we've got this section, which is really reports that all of our customers are going to get, ones that we just view as very important that everyone should have access to. But I would say most exciting to me is that there's also this My Report section, which are completely customized reports based on what you need to find an answer to. When we talk about why are we, what's the value in this? Obviously there's a lot of inherent value in reporting, but I think Chantal said it best actually to me this week that easy answers are hard to come by in SEO. If you want to ask a question to your data at large, from the time you ask the question to the time you get an answer is often very long, and often long enough or daunting enough that you don't ever actually get the answer because you're not willing to take the time and do the work to actually get there, because it's a lot of work. And if you knew the answer, is it actually going to provide the value that makes that time worth it, right? So we find ourselves in this situation where it's like, oh, I should really know the answer to that, but it's going to take me forever because I got to go to this and that and this and the other, download all these CSVs, VLOOK them all up together, and that's just going to take forever. So I'm going to move on to something else that I know is going to have an impact, right? Well, with our new reporting, you're going to be able to ask a question and get an answer very, very quickly. So
one thing I feel like
yeah.
we haven't discussed, but is maybe worth mentioning, like in our experience in running organic at Demandwell, I feel like a lot of our takeaways are largely anecdotal. We're like, oh, we know that these pages are driving traffic and we know that we're ranking well for these keywords. So like, it seems like this is going well, but it's all gut feel basically. And then in your LinkedIn post earlier, you mentioned like wrangling CSVs. Like if you want to actually know, you're downloading 20 spreadsheets and like trying to make them work together, which is just crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully much fewer CSVs in all of our lives when it comes to SEO reporting here soon. But I'll go ahead and show what it looks like to create a report in the platform now. So up here, create report button, you can click that. You'll be able to select between URLs and keywords. These are really the two base elements of like all SEO. You've got URLs, you've got keywords. You can choose one or the other there. You can then hit this select metrics button, and from here you're going to be able to select all of these different metrics. So for this example, I think I'll just leave it on clicks here, and then we can select our date range. Let's call it 3 months. Hit build report, and now we have our keyword click performance for a set of keywords. So we can see this for all keywords. We can also group, filter this down by something that, like keywords contain, or, keyword does not contain, that kind of stuff. So you can see all the keywords for the whole site or just a smaller group. We do have a campaigns functionality we haven't covered today. That's kind of part of the strategy side of things. So you can actually sort by if something is included in a campaign or not. You can, like we talked about, lifecycle stage. Hey, I want to know keyword click performance specifically for lifecycle stage, let's say stage 4 and 5 keywords. That can be super, super helpful. So there's all sorts of filtering that can go on here. And then of course we plot everything on a chart so you can actually like visualize it. I in particular am a very visual learner. So I'm really excited about that. But that's generally kind of the workflow. So we and you know, your saved reports will show up down here. You'll be able to access them kind of at any time. We think there are going to be some reports that are really evergreen that you create in a way and you know, take a look at every week. You know, this is my Monday morning review. This, you know, this set of reports, this is what I'm going to do. There's also ones that are more temporary. So you might have you know, a product release that's coming out, and you want to see, you know, for the 3 months following that product announcement, are the words that are being used, you know, are you guys ranking for the keywords that you guys are hoping to, based on whatever that product category is, right? So there could be time-based ones like that. There could also just be time-based ones in the sense of, hey, I have a question and I want to get a quick answer. Create that report and use it once and delete it. You know, that's totally fine. Which, you know, even saying that, every time I say that, just feels so freeing to me. Because you don't have to have every report you create be this thing that you always have to have, which, you know, again, with that CSV wrangling that has to happen, you know, I rarely ask those temporary questions because I don't want to have to do the work. And I really only spend the time to create those more evergreen reports because it seems like it's worth the work. But yeah, so hopefully now, you know, we'll be able to get answers to questions a lot quicker. So I've got a few specific examples I wanted to share, and then we'll open up to any other questions we've got. So one in particular, so I want to show, let's see, we showed that one. Okay, so thinking about, you know, demand focused folks on the call. So folks who want to use SEO as a way to drive demand. I assume that is most of you, as we recently did a survey and found that was very much like, you know, very common that folks want to actually be driving revenue, which I think is amazing. So in order to, you know, help, you know, a question you might answer there is, you know, how are my conversions doing on, you know, a specific URL or a specific list of URLs. So in that way, and you know, so we would come in here, we would click URL, we would select metrics. In this case, we would switch it to conversions. And in the mockup, it's looking a little weird, so we'll see if this works, but the idea should be the same. So we're looking at URLs, then we're looking at conversions, and it does show up a little differently. But the idea is, you know, you can have a list of URLs and understand specifically your conversions going on there. So from a demand perspective, we will be tracking conversions. Again, that source is Google Analytics, and that is dependent upon how they're set up in Google Analytics. So that is definitely a very important thing to understand. Next one, next idea is, I assume folks on the call are either, you know, trying to create a category, or being told you should, or reading blog posts that you should, right? So to create a category, I find that most people creating categories are really not even monitoring the category that they are creating. We see this all the time. You know, we work with some, you know, kind of really early stage companies, and that's kind of true. So, you know, you're creating this thing, but you're not able to tangibly say, is this actually, growing over time? Is the category that we have from a keyword perspective, is that actually growing over time? Is the search volume growing over time? That kind of thing. So with regard to that, I would include that as a keyword report. I'll also marry this with with another idea here, which kind of extends beyond categories into overall brand monitoring as well, that we see. I think a lot of folks take for granted that they rank number one for their brand name. Well, one, that's not always true, especially if your brand is kind of a more generic word. It's not always true that you're going to just automatically rank, number one for the brand. But in addition, there are super common modifiers for branded terms that most people are not ranking number one for. Things like, I'll use Lessonly as the example. So Lessonly pricing, Lessonly alternatives, Lessonly competitors, things like that, that are keywords that people are searching for, but we all just kind of ignore them, kind of by default because they're our brand. And of course we're ranking well for that. We actually did that exercise at Lessonly and found that we were not ranking really well for some of those. And so that became part of our core keyword strategy, was actually branded search and improving that using the same logic as other things. So, when it comes to keywords and reporting here, whether you're talking category keywords, you're talking branded keywords, you're talking demand related keywords, you can actually create a report that has multiple metrics in it. So the very first report we looked at had only clicks, I believe. This one actually has multiple metrics. You can add additional metrics over time. You can, again, have similar filtering as we talked about before. You can look at all keywords. You can look at certain keywords. For another one, like average rank, right? Like, hey, I want to see, what are my clicks and impressions for average rank of, 20 and better. That could totally be the case. Or, I do think in this example of keywords, I would definitely have a report where I have a keyword setting that says includes Lessonly in our branded term example, and that's your brand report. You can use that to communicate with, among the marketing team. You can use that to communicate up in your marketing org as well, to help everyone understand, hey, these are our branded terms. These are the ones we're doing well. These are the ones we're not. I do also like the idea of like I've called in the past like a red flag report, where you could say keywords includes Lessonly, average rank is greater than 3, let's say, and that's your brand. In that list that will constantly evolve, that will change, that will help you understand your branded terms that you're really losing on. So that's one example. And then last but not least, I do want to just share another idea that I think a lot of people miss, is the idea that, again, this like disparate situation we often find ourselves in, is that product teams, I assume a lot of folks on the call are a part of SaaS or SaaS-like companies and have product teams that are creating content, and they're creating features pages and things like that. Well, we can actually create a URL report and incorporate different parts, different metrics within that. And actually, all right, I'll try that. And so here we can see a multi-metric with URLs included. So in this case, I would use filtering to narrow URLs down to just your features pages, save that as a report, and now you from an SEO perspective and your product team from an understanding the market perspective are now using the same report and speaking the same language and able to help each other out and breaking down that silo between those teams that we commonly see. I think that covers pretty much all that I wanted to hear. I'd love to hear if you guys have any questions about this, questions about anything else in our platform. I guess the last note I'll say on reporting is, we really view this as a starting point, and it's kind of how we view and how we've always viewed our platform is that, we want to know when our baby is ugly, and we want to seek feedback. And that's what today is all about, is getting this in front of more people and understanding how is this resonating. Are you guys seeing these things as problems as we're communicating this, articulating this, and actually changing the code in our platform? It's often based on the feedback that we're hearing from you guys. So would love any feedback either during or after this call about this. And yeah, I've got kind of a couple calls to action we'll share at the very end, but we've got about 5 minutes for questions.
Totally. And just to sort of let everybody know what they can, if they want to take an action after this, what it can be while we wait for questions to roll in. If you're a customer and you want to be involved in the beta, you can email success@demandwell.com. They can hook you up. And then if you're not a customer and you'd like a more personalized demo of the Demandwell dashboard holistically, you can actually email Mitch at demandwell.com, and he and his EA will find time to book a meeting with you to give you a personalized walkthrough. So that said, we have some questions. Let's see, from Jackie. Will reports be available to email or download? Does someone need to log into Demandwell to see them?
Yeah, so out of the gate, they will not be available for download, but we do anticipate that as a common request and anticipate that as a future roadmap item, yes.
Cool. Awesome. One thing I think it could be fun to elaborate on a little bit, which you sort of described initially, was like this category creation concept around reports and like what kinds of questions you can answer. And I think if you recall, when we were on that webinar with Dave Gerhardt, and he mentioned when he was at Drift, he was like really trying not to rank for live chat or chatbot, because they were like trying to create conversational marketing.
Yes.
But if he had ranked for live chat or chatbot, he would have been able to capture all of the existing demand for that category and like retarget the interest into conversational marketing.
Yes.
And I think like one thing that really sparked in my mind when you were showing the multi-metric keyword report is like you could have a report that compares your like the existing category with the category that you're trying to create, and see like how you're performing against those two very different but super related search categories.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if Dave could have been armed with showing the difference in volume and difference in impact, I think that could have maybe led to different internal discussions than what they had.
Totally. Okay, couple more questions. Is there a way to follow conversions through Salesforce today, or how do you see people doing that? I know how we do it at Demandwell.
Yeah. So within the actual reporting component of Demandwell's platform, we will not have a direct integration to any CRM at this point. We do anticipate that as being feedback from a lot of people and from ourselves. This is what we're viewing as a starting point, and that is definitely something that's on our long-term roadmap to help figure out. One of the challenges there is everyone does it completely differently. And so we have to find a way to do that in a more scalable way. And so, yeah, more to come on that. It is very important to us and definitely, part of our future.
One question from Anonymous is, what kind of data can I use when I create a report? And I think what they're getting at is like analytics, search console, Demandwell, all in one place.
Yeah.
Totally sure, but.
Yeah. So today, the data sources are Demandwell, Google Search Console, and Google Analytics. So if the data can come from, that's basically the pool of data that we have to work with here. And I don't know that this is 100% comprehensive in this mock-up view, but from a URL perspective, I'll just show, these are the metrics that we have listed. So clicks, conversions, visitors, impressions, how many keywords is that URL ranking for? That's what keywords ranked means, as well as click-through rate. And then from a keyword perspective, we have all of these as well. So some of these like posts published and pages published, and is this a Demandwell page? Those are things that can really only be found inside Demandwell, same as lifecycle stage. But when we look at click-through rate and how many keywords are ranking and all that stuff, that would then be from Search Console for those in particular, conversions from Google Analytics, volume from various data sources that we use to collect monthly search volume.
Awesome. Alrighty, we are at time and I see that the participants are dwindling. So last call for calls to action. If you are a customer and you want beta access, email success@demandwell.com. If you're not a customer and you want a personalized demo, email Mitch from Mitch himself, email mitch@demandwell.com. And thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been really fun. Thanks for all the great questions and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all.
Cool. Thanks. Bye.